I never thought a single breath could destroy everything I believed about my marriage. But that night, that dinner, that smell, it was like the universe ripped open right in front of me. My name is Claire. I'm 38. I've always been the quiet achiever, the kind of woman who works twice as hard and celebrates half as loudly. But this year, I finally did something for myself. I earned a huge promotion at the firm. A position I'd dreamed of since the day I stepped into that glass building as a nervous junior analyst. When HR called and said, "Congratulations, the board chose you," I actually cried in the elevator. But those tears were nothing compared to the ones I shed 3 nights later. Because that was the night my husband cooked the special dinner. That was the night I smelled something that shattered my world. I walked through the front door still in my blazer, still buzzing with accomplishment, expecting maybe a hug. A kiss. I'm proud of you. Instead, I smelled rosemary, garlic, slow-cooked butter, and something else, something faint and oddly familiar, though at first I couldn't place it. "Babe," Daniel called from the kitchen. "Don't come in yet. I'm still finishing everything." I stopped in the hallway, clutching my purse, confused. Daniel never cooked. Never. If the oven beeped, he asked me what it meant. If I wasn't home, he lived off takeout or cereal. But tonight, he sounded excited. Almost jittery. "You made dinner?" I asked. "For you," he said proudly. To celebrate my wife becoming boss of the whole damn universe. It would have been sweet, beautiful, even, if not for the smell. Not the rosemary garlic part that was fine, but that faint, sharp, almost metallic scent underneath. My stomach twisted. Something in me recoiled before my brain understood why. I froze. Then, I breathed deeper. And instantly, a memory slapped me across the face. 5 months ago, another kitchen, another plate of carefully arranged food, another faint scent I couldn't name then either, because I wasn't the one who smelled it first. "Claire, this smells weird. You shouldn't eat this." My coworker, Jenna, whispering urgently as she leaned over my lunch container. A lunch Daniel had packed for me just because. She didn't explain. She didn't have time. She just tossed the food into the break room trash and told me, "Please, don't bring food from him anymore." I laughed it off back then, teased her, said Daniel was harmless. She wouldn't tell me what she thought she smelled, wouldn't look me in the eye. The next week, she transferred to a different department. I never connected it. Not until tonight. Because now, standing in my own hallway, breathing in that same faint metallic scent, my entire body screamed. Something was wrong. Deeply, horribly wrong. I walked into the dining room slowly. Too slowly. The table was set like a magazine photo, candles, wine glasses, napkins folded like little swans. "Wow," I managed. "You really went all out," he grinned. "Only the best for my wife." But his eyes darted, from me, to the kitchen, back to me, like he was waiting for something, or bracing for something. And then I saw it, the pot on the stove, a heavy, cast-iron pot, with the lid slightly cracked open, steam curling out and carrying that faint, metallic smell straight toward me. My legs felt numb. "Daniel," I whispered. "What's in that?" He paused just for half a second, but long enough for my heart to stop. "Oh," he said casually, "just a special recipe. Special." My brain replayed the last year like a fast-forwarding movie. I suddenly understood. The headaches, the bouts of nausea, the nights I went to bed dizzy and blamed it on stress, my heart racing for no reason, my hair thinning, my constant fatigue. The doctor said burnout. Daniel agreed too quickly, too eagerly. I swallowed hard. "Can I smell it?" He stiffened. No, it's not ready. It slipped out of me before I could stop it." "Daniel, did you put something in my food?" Silence. I heard the refrigerator hum, a clock ticking somewhere. The burning in my throat as I waited for him to laugh, deny it, call me crazy. He didn't. He looked at me long and slow with an expression I had never seen on him, and he said, Claire, why would you even ask that? Not no. Not, of course not. Not, how could you think that? Just a slippery, careful question. A question that tasted like guilt. A question that tasted like fear. And suddenly every bone in my body knew. He did. He absolutely did. My voice trembled. Daniel. Step away from the stove. He blinked, confused. What? Claire. You're being ridiculous. Sit down. Let me. Step. Away. He frowned, but he moved. Slowly. Too slowly. Like he didn't want to. Like he still hoped I'd sit down and eat whatever was in that pot. My hands shook as I reached for the lid. He watched me. He didn't try to stop me. He didn't dare. But he wasn't scared enough, either. I lifted it. Steam rushed up. The rosemary smell was stronger now. The garlic, too. But underneath, unmistakable, was that sharp metallic note that didn't belong in any normal kitchen. And suddenly, I knew exactly where I had smelled it before. The old garage. The cabinet with rusting tools. The bottles Daniel insisted on storing for emergencies. I stepped back, shaking. He stepped forward, and in that tiny movement, one step, my whole world split open. Because he wasn't stepping toward me. He was stepping toward the pot. If he wanted to protect me, he would have reached for me. He didn't. He reached for the food. The food he wanted me to eat. The food that smelled like something I should never put in my body. And in that moment, with that single movement, I knew. My husband, the man I shared a home with, a life with, a future with, was hiding something dark, something dangerous, something that could ruin me, or worse. If I'm being honest, the story didn't begin with that pot on the stove. It didn't begin with the metallic smell, or the promotion, or even with Daniel and me falling apart. It began long before that, in quiet moments I ignored, in little choices that felt harmless, in pieces of myself I kept shrinking so someone else could feel bigger. To understand why that dinner mattered, you have to understand who we were, who I was, who he pretended to be. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, in a small townhouse with my mom and 2 brothers. Money was always tight, but love wasn't. My mom worked double shifts at a hospital, dragging herself home past midnight, always exhausted but always smiling for us. She used to tell me, "Baby, a woman's strength shows in the moments no one sees." I took that to heart, maybe too much. I became the responsible one. The peacemaker. The fixer. If something broke, I repaired it. If someone was hurting, I listened. If someone took advantage of me, I forgave them because it was easier. When I got into Oregon State, I studied finance not because I loved numbers but because I wanted a job stable enough to lift me out of the life I grew up in. A life where rent was a monthly battle and one car problem ruined the entire budget. By 28, I moved to Seattle and joined a large investment firm. I worked 60-hour weeks, made myself indispensable, and learned how to carry stress so quietly that no one realized when it was crushing me. People said I was smart, competent, reliable. No one ever called me loud, or demanding, or selfish. I wasn't built that way. And Daniel, he walked straight into my quiet life like a spark in a dry forest. I met him at a friend's backyard barbecue in Tacoma. He had a beer in one hand, sunglasses pushed up on messy hair, and a smile that made every woman within 30 yards notice. He talked fast, laughed loudly, moved with the confidence of someone who expected people to follow him, and they usually did. He worked in insurance sales back then. He described his job like he was saving the world one policy at a time. Even I fell for it. We couldn't have been more different. Where I was methodical, he was spontaneous. Where I hesitated, he leapt. Where I thought carefully before speaking, he filled every silence with jokes. For a woman who had spent her entire life holding her breath, he felt like oxygen. He made me feel seen, wanted, important. Looking back, it wasn't love that hooked me at first. It was validation, the kind I never allowed myself to need. It took me years to recognize that charm isn't love, attention isn't safety, and intensity isn't intimacy. Daniel thrived on being adored, and I was an easy target, because I adored easily and forgave even easier. There were signs. Of course there were. The first time he snapped at me for being promoted at work, said he was joking, said I was overreacting, said I shouldn't take everything so seriously. The first time he brushed off my long hours as obsessive. The way he critiqued my clothes, my friends, even my laugh. He didn't do it harshly. That would have been obvious. He did it gently, softly, sneakily. "You're beautiful, babe, but that dress doesn't do you justice. Are you sure Emma likes you? She seems jealous of you. You're working a lot lately. I miss us. Can't you cut down a little?" It sounded like concern. It felt like love. It was control. But back then, I didn't have the vocabulary for it. I had a good job, a good man, a future that looked stable. I ignored every crack because I didn't want the whole thing to collapse. We married 3 years later. A small wedding. Simple. Intimate. I wore a lace dress my mom cried over. Daniel made a grand speech that had everyone laughing. He kissed me like we were the perfect couple, and for a while, we were. Or at least it looked like it. Until the world stopped being generous with him. Until he lost his job. Until he stopped trying to find another. Until his days revolved around video games and late mornings. Until he told me I was lucky to have a job I loved. Lucky. As if I hadn't worked my bones into dust for it. Whenever I brought up money, he called me uptight. Whenever I asked him to help around the house, he acted wounded. Whenever I succeeded at work, he needed reassurance that he wasn't falling behind. I became his emotional caretaker, his financial support, his stability, and somehow, he still made me feel guilty for outgrowing him. Emma, my best friend from the office, was the only person who ever asked the real questions. "Claire, why does he need you small? Why does he want you tired? Why do you always apologize after you do something good?" I never had answers. Emma saw the patterns before I did, the ways Daniel pulled my strings. The ways he sulked if I got praised. The way he made bad days feel like my fault. She used to tell me, half joking but not really, "Girl, one day you're going to wake up and realize you've been carrying a grown man on your back." She wasn't wrong. But I wasn't ready to admit that then. The firm had been grooming me for leadership for years. I worked harder than anyone, covered impossible deadlines, negotiated contracts bigger than my salary. People respected me. People trusted me. Except at home. When I found out I was being considered for a major promotion, vice director of investment strategy, Daniel laughed. Actually laughed. Said, "Babe, you're already stressed. Why would you want more on your plate?" When I told him I wanted it, he didn't smile. He looked threatened, and suddenly, I remembered every time he needed me tired, every time he wanted me home instead of at work, every time my success made him retreat into silent resentment, but I pushed forward anyway. For myself. For my future. When I finally earned the role, I expected at least a flicker of pride in his eyes. Instead, he spent 3 days sulking, blaming headaches, blaming his mood, blaming everything but the truth. He couldn't stand that I was rising without him. So when he suddenly announced he'd cook a special dinner, I believed he was trying to celebrate me, trying to show love. But some part of me, a small part, buried deep, already sensed something off, something broken, something dangerous. People assume women always know, that we sense danger. That intuition screams loud enough. But the truth is, intuition doesn't scream. It whispers, softly, quietly, in the spaces we never slow down long enough to hear. I didn't see the threat because I spent years teaching myself that other people's comfort mattered more than my boundaries. I didn't see it because I thought marriage meant sacrifice. Because I didn't want to admit I could sleep beside someone who didn't want me to shine. But all the little signs, the jealousy, the subtle comments, the tension every time I came home successful, they were building towards something. Something I never imagined a man like Daniel could do. Something I didn't understand until that night, until the smell from the pot on the stove triggered a memory I had buried. And by the time I realized why, it was already too late for innocence. The truth was coming, and it was uglier than anything I ever prepared my heart for. The week before everything collapsed felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Not the kind that relaxes your shoulders or softens the air. This was the kind of quiet that follows a slammed door. The kind that hums underneath your skin. The kind you feel before you hear thunder. Daniel kept moving around the house like a man rehearsing a lie. He smiled too much. He cleaned things he never noticed before. He asked questions about my schedule as if he were memorizing it. At work, I was at my highest point, new office, bigger responsibilities, a team that finally treated me like I mattered. At home, I lived beside a storm pretending to be sunshine, and every day, the tension grew thicker. 3 days after my promotion, Daniel came into the kitchen with 2 mugs of coffee. His eyes were too wide, his voice too smooth. "Hey, babe," he said, sliding a mug toward me. "Thought we could talk about future plans, you know, with all the extra income." I blinked. Daniel never talked about future plans. He avoided budgeting the way kids avoid vegetables. "What plans?" I asked. He leaned on the counter, folding his arms. "Well, with your new salary, we could start thinking bigger. Maybe put some accounts under my name. Spread the responsibility." There was something sharp in his smile, something rehearsed. Before I could answer, he added, "I mean, we're married, right? What's yours is mine." I forced a small laugh. "What exactly do you want under your name?" He shrugged. "Casual, too casual. Savings. Maybe a joint credit card. Maybe the investment account." Every word he said felt like a fishing hook. He wanted access. He wanted control. He wanted entitlement disguised as teamwork. My stomach tightened. I answered gently, "Let's just slow down. I want to get settled into the new role first." His jaw clenched barely, but I saw it. The smile dropped from his eyes even though it stayed on his mouth. "Sure," he said. "Well, slow down." But he didn't mean that. I could feel it. 2 days later, during lunch, I got a call from my bank. "Miss Carter, we're confirming a credit application submitted in your name." I froze. "I didn't apply for anything," I said. There was silence. "It was submitted online yesterday afternoon. A joint card. The co-applicant listed is Daniel." I blurted out before she could finish. The representative confirmed it. My face burned. My hands shook. I told her it was unauthorized. She said she'd cancel it. I hung up and sat in my office with my heart slamming against my ribs. He didn't even ask. He just tried to take. That night, I brought it up. "Did you apply for a credit card in my name?" He didn't deny it. Not even for a second. Instead, he rolled his eyes. "It's a joint card, Claire. Married couples have those. Don't be dramatic. You did it without telling me." He shrugged. "Because I knew you'd overthink it. It's just a card. Relax." I felt something shift inside me, a small crack in the foundation. Not big, not loud, but undeniable. Emma, my best friend, invited me to a little promotion celebration at a wine bar near the office. Just a few coworkers, nothing wild. When I told Daniel, he stiffened. "You're going out? Tonight?" I nodded. "Yeah, just for a bit." "With who?" "My team. Some managers. Emma." He stared at me as if I had confessed a crime. "So you're going to celebrate with them before celebrating with your husband?" I took a breath. "Daniel, you've barely talked to me all week. And I just want a little time with my friends." He made a bitter half laugh. "Right. Your work family." His tone stung more than it should have. "Come on, don't be like that." He didn't answer, just walked away. When I came home later that night, 9 p.m. Early by any standard, he was sitting in the dark living room, staring at the wall. No TV. No phone. Just staring. "You okay?" I asked. He didn't look at me. "You seem to have a great time without me. Guess I'm not needed anymore." The words were soaked in resentment. I sat on the edge of the sofa. "Daniel, this promotion isn't about you, or about pushing you out." He finally looked at me, jaw tight, eyes cold. "Then why does it feel like everything is passing me by while you keep climbing?" I didn't know how to answer that, so I stayed quiet. He stood, grabbed his jacket, and said, "I need air." He disappeared for 3 hours. I didn't sleep that night. 2 days later, the day of the dinner, I came home early. Daniel was in the kitchen. He never cooked. Not even microwave meals. The man burned toast. But there he was, humming, stirring a pot on the stove. The scent hit me the moment I stepped inside. And it wasn't food. Not savory. Not sweet. It was sharp. And metallic. And strangely familiar. A smell I hadn't sensed since childhood. A smell that tugged on a memory I hadn't touched in years. My head suddenly felt heavy. My chest tight. "Hey, babe," Daniel called. Way too cheerful. Perfect timing. I blinked slowly. What are you cooking?" He grinned. "It's a surprise. Sit down, relax. You've had a long week." Something was wrong. Daniel didn't do surprises. He didn't do cheerfulness. Not lately. And the smell, God, the smell. It prickled the back of my throat like hospital disinfectant mixed with iron. I stepped closer to the pot. He blocked me gently. "Leave it. It's almost done." My heart thudded. "Daniel, what's in it?" He chuckled. "Nothing weird. I promise." But his eyes weren't laughing. They were studying me, watching me, measuring. And suddenly my mom's voice flashed through my head, a memory I hadn't thought of since I was 7. "Never go near that smell, baby. It means something's wrong." My hands trembled. "Daniel, what is that?" He exhaled dramatically. "Claire, stop questioning everything. Just sit down. I made this for you. For your new role. For us." His tone twisted the word us into something sharp. Something that didn't feel like love. Something that felt like ownership. I backed away. He stiffened. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Because for the first time since I met him, I wasn't sure I was safe. While he turned to grab plates, I moved toward the pantry, partly to get a glass, partly because my nerves were screaming. The door was cracked open. Inside, on the shelf, sat a small brown bottle. Unlabeled. Oily fingerprints on the cap. A memory surged. A neighbor's garage when I was 9. A chemical smell. A doctor telling my mom the fumes could make someone dizzy, confused, even disoriented. Suddenly the metallic smell made sense. And something inside me, some instinct older than fear, whispered, "He wouldn't. He couldn't. He's angry, but he wouldn't hurt you." But another voice, the one I'd silenced for years, answered, "You don't know what a desperate man will do." Daniel turned, saw where I was looking, and slammed the pantry door shut. My pulse exploded. "What's in that bottle?" I asked. He froze, then smiled. Too quickly, too wide. "Seasoning oil." "Claire, please. You're acting paranoid." But his hand stayed on the pantry door, white-knuckled, tense. And in that moment, something broke inside me. The trust, the excuses, the years of bending myself small. Gone. We stood facing each other in the kitchen, silence thick, the air heavy with that awful smell. "Daniel," I whispered, "did you put something in the food?" His jaw tightened, his eyes flickered. He stepped toward me. "Claire, sit down." The tone wasn't a request. It wasn't love. It was command. Cold, hard, final. My breath caught in my throat, because the man in front of me wasn't the man I married. Or maybe he was, and I was finally seeing him clearly. Either way, the dinner wasn't a celebration. It was the beginning of the truth. And the truth was about to crack my entire world open. The morning after, Mia's confession felt strangely heavy, as if the house itself had been listening last night and now held its breath. I woke before the alarm, lying still in the dim light, replaying her shaking voice in my mind. "Mom, I don't want Aunt Lily's pills anymore." I thought she'd be asleep when I entered her room, but she sat upright, hugging her knees, as if she hadn't slept at all. I didn't know whether to comfort her or demand the truth. Because the truth, whatever it was, felt dangerous. Mia lifted her head as soon as she heard me. "Mom, are you mad at me?" And just like that, the anger I was building turned to ash. She looked too small, too fragile. I sat on the bed, brushing back her hair. "No, "Sweetheart. I'm not mad. I'm just scared." She didn't answer. She just leaned into me, and I could feel the tension vibrating through her shoulders. At breakfast, the tension grew thicker. Mia kept glancing toward the door, as if expecting someone to walk through it. Her cereal went untouched. Every sound made her flinch. I tried keeping my voice steady. "Mia, honey, did Aunt Lily ever tell you what the pills were for?" Her spoon froze midair. She didn't look at me. Didn't speak, she just shook her head, as if afraid even the gesture might be overheard. Something inside me twisted. That was when my phone buzzed. A message from Lily. Really bringing Mia her supplement later today. She needs to stay consistent. My throat tightened. Consistent with what? I didn't reply. After dropping Mia at school, I sat in the car for several minutes, staring at the steering wheel. Everything started aligning in a way that felt sickening. The sudden changes in her behavior. Her resistance every time Lily visited, her fear of the pills, her shaking hands when she talked about them. And Lily always insisting she knew what was best because she had experience, because she helped raise Mia when she was younger. At work, I couldn't focus on anything. Numbers blurred, voices felt distant. All I could think of was Mia's trembling voice. "Mom, I don't want the pills." By noon, I had already decided I needed answers. Real ones. After school, instead of driving home, I took Mia to the park. A public place. Somewhere open, safe. She seemed surprised but relieved. She climbed onto the bench beside me, curling up under my arm. "Mia," I whispered, "can you tell me why you didn't want Aunt Lily's pills anymore?" Her breath hitched. She stared at her shoes, legs swinging nervously. "Mia," tiny, trembling. "Because they make me feel wrong." That word hit me like a slap. Wrong how? She pressed her palms against her temples. Like my head gets fuzzy, and my heart beats fast, and I get scared for no reason. And I can't think. I just want to sleep. I swallowed hard. These were not vitamins. These weren't anything normal. I kept my voice calm even as panic clawed at my chest. "Mia, did Aunt Lily ever tell you what was inside the pills?" Her eyes filled instantly. She whispered something so quietly I almost didn't hear it. She said it helps me stay quiet. The world seemed to tilt. Quiet. For what? Mia wiped her nose on her sleeve, blinking through tears. "So I don't bother anyone, so she doesn't get headaches, so I behave." My stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't care. This was control. And Lily had been giving those pills to my daughter for months, maybe longer without my knowledge. I pulled Mia into my arms, trying to keep my voice from breaking. "You didn't do anything wrong. You hear me?" "Nothing." By the time I drove home, my mind was set. This needed to stop, and I needed to confront Lily before she stepped one foot inside my house again. But when we pulled into the driveway, she was already there. Standing on the porch, holding a small white bottle. Her smile was too bright, too rehearsed. "There you two are. I brought Mia's pills. She's due for her dose." Mia instantly pressed herself against me, hiding behind my arm. Something inside me snapped. I stepped between Lily and my daughter. "No, she's not taking anything." Lily's smile faltered. Just a crack, but I noticed. "Lily, don't be dramatic. She needs them. You know how sensitive she is." I stared at her, cold, unblinking. I said no. For a moment, Lily didn't move. Her eyes narrowed, calculating. Then she tilted her head, her voice lowering into something almost threatening. "You're making a mistake. A big one." My pulse pounded in my ears. "Maybe, but it's my mistake to make, not yours." Behind me, Mia clutched my shirt. That tiny grip gave me strength I didn't know I had. Lily held out the bottle with a slow, practiced gesture. "I'll just leave these here. You'll change your mind." I didn't take it. She set it on the porch rail, like a gift I should be grateful for, then turned and walked away slow, controlled, as if she hadn't just been exposed. But I could see it in her stiff shoulders. She was furious. The door closed behind us, and Mia whispered into my side, "Mom, thank you." I held her close. But inside, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Something darker was hiding behind those pills. Something I was only beginning to understand. That night, the house felt different. The air seemed to vibrate with something unseen, like the echo of Lily's final words clinging to the walls. After putting Mia to bed, I found myself staring at the small white bottle Lily had left behind. It sat in the center of the dining table like a silent threat. The label was blank, no brand, no dosage, nothing. A chill crawled up my spine. Whatever Lily had been giving my daughter, she didn't want anyone else to know. I picked up the bottle and shook it. The pills rustled softly, far too many for something new. She must have been planning this for a long time. Suddenly, the pressure of everything, fear, anger, confusion, crashed over me. I slammed the bottle down so hard it bounced. Then I heard a small voice behind me. "Mom, you're still awake." I turned. She stood in the hallway, hugging her favorite blanket, eyes wide with worry. I forced a smile, just thinking, "Sweetie, come here." She patted across the wooden floor and climbed onto my lap. Her little hands were cold. "Are you scared?" she whispered. I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want to scare her more. "A little," I admitted. "But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." She nodded, snuggling closer. "Mom, if Aunt Lily comes again, do I have to take the pills?" The way her voice trembled, I felt something break in me. "No," I said firmly. "You never have to take anything you don't want. Not ever again." Her sigh of relief nearly brought me to tears. After I tucked Mia back into bed, I stood in the hallway, watching her breathe. Peaceful, unaware of the storm building outside our lives. But my own mind kept circling back years earlier, to when Mia was still a toddler. Lily used to babysit her when I worked long shifts. She always insisted she was helping, that she knew children better than anyone. Back then, I'd believed her. Lily was my older sister, responsible, confident. I remembered a night when I came home early and found Mia asleep unnaturally fast, her cheeks flushed. Lily smiled and said, "Children get tired. Nothing strange." I'd trusted her. And now, I wondered if the pills started earlier than I ever realized. My hands shook as I leaned against the doorway. I knew I needed answers. Real ones, not guesses. So I took the bottle, grabbed my phone, and called the one person who could help without asking endless questions. Dr. Nguyen, Maya's pediatrician. It rang twice before she answered. "Everything okay?" I exhaled shakily. "Not exactly. Can I bring something in for you to look at? First thing tomorrow?" She didn't push, didn't pry. "Of course, bring Mia as well. Come early." Hearing that simple reassurance, ill help was enough to keep me from falling apart. I hung up, set the bottle on the counter, and rested my palms on the cold surface. Tomorrow would bring answers, but I knew today wasn't done with me yet. At exactly 12:08 a.m., my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but when I glanced at the screen, my blood ran cold. "We need to talk. Don't make this difficult." Another message followed before I could react. "You don't understand what those pills prevent." Prevent? What was she talking about? My throat tightened as a third message appeared. "If you take them away, you'll regret it." The vague threat, the entitlement, the claim of control over my own child, it was too much. My hands clenched into fists. I blocked her number. Then I locked all the doors, double-checked the windows, and sat in the living room with every light on, replaying her messages in my mind. I didn't sleep at all. The sun rose far too quickly. When Mia woke, she instantly sensed something was different. She stuck close to me, her eyes following every movement. As we got into the car to head to the clinic, she reached for my hand. "Mom, is Aunt Lily mad at us?" I squeezed her fingers gently. "She can be mad at me. Not you." "But she'll come again," Mia murmured. "She always comes." That sentence, that simple truth, felt like a cold blade sliding down my spine. It meant Lily had been inserting herself into our lives far more aggressively than I realized. And if Mia expected her to always come, then Lily had been setting a pattern one she thought she had the right to enforce. But she wouldn't anymore. Not after today. We pulled into the clinic parking lot just as the wind picked up. The sky looked gray, unsettled. Before I got Mia out of the car, I noticed something in the rearview mirror. A dark sedan, engine running, parked across the street. And inside, through the tinted window, I saw a familiar silhouette. Lily, watching us, watching her bottle, watching Mia. My breath caught. My pulse spiked. She didn't move, didn't get out, just sat there. As if reminding me she wasn't done. As if warning me that taking Mia here was a mistake. I forced myself to unbuckle my daughter. Stay close to me, sweetheart. Mia nodded, eyes wide. And as we walked toward the clinic doors, I felt it. This was no longer a disagreement, no longer a misunderstanding. This was a battle, and it was only just beginning. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and quiet worry. As soon as we stepped inside, Dr. Nguyen ushered us into a private room. She didn't waste time with small talk. She could see the tension written all over my face. She knelt in front of Mia first. "Hey, sweetheart. Your mom says you've been taking some pills from your aunt. Is that right?" Mia nodded, fidgeting with the sleeves of her hoodie. "Okay. I'm just going to ask you something important, and you don't have to be scared. Did the pills make you feel different? Sleepy? Sick? Anything like that?" Mia hesitated. Then, in a small voice, she said, "They made everything feel slow." My stomach clenched. "Slow, like you were tired?" "No, like my brain didn't want to work." The doctor's expression changed instantly. Professional calm slipped into something firmer, more focused. She turned to me. "Let me see the bottle." I handed her the white, unmarked bottle. She opened it, shook 2 pills into her gloved palm, and held them under the examination light. I watched her face as she studied them. At first, nothing. Then, a flicker, a tightening around the eyes, a slow inhale like someone bracing for impact. "What are they?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood, opened a cabinet, and pulled out a rapid chemical testing swab. Within seconds, the swab turned a pale bluish color. Her jaw tightened. "These aren't vitamins. They aren't supplements. They're a sedative, one that's not meant for children. Not legally. Not ever." My heart dropped straight through the floor. Sedatives? Why would she? She held up a hand. "Let's finish running the proper tests." "But this is serious." Serious. The word echoed inside my skull like a warning siren. As the nurse took Mia for a quick blood test, I sank into the chair across from Dr. Nguyen. What could this do to her long term? I asked, my voice cracking. She softened, but didn't sugarcoat it. For an adult, it would be mild. For a child? Regular doses can fog cognitive development, slow emotional responses, interfere with memory and learning. And that's just the beginning. My stomach twisted. My daughter. My bright, curious, talkative little girl. Someone I loved and trusted had been dosing her behind my back. I pressed a hand to my forehead. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Dr. Nguyen leaned forward. "You brought her here, that's what matters now." But the guilt didn't ease, because deep down, I kept thinking, how long had this been happening? What else had Lily done when I wasn't looking? While we waited for the lab results, Dr. Nguyen stepped out to make a call, checking the database for anything she could find about the pills. 10 minutes later, she returned with her phone in her hand and an uneasy look on her face. "I found something," she said, "and you need to hear it." She showed me a screenshot of a pharmaceutical requisition log. One line was highlighted. Recipient: Lily Carter. Medication: Lorivaril, restricted sedative. Quantity repeatedly requested: 120 pills. Month. Flag: non-patient. Unauthorized. A cold wave rolled down my spine. She's not a patient. How did she get those? Dr. Nguyen shook her head. I don't know, but she must have been ordering them for months, maybe longer. Months, possibly years, and the worst part? Lily had signed for them using our home address. I felt dizzy, gripping the edge of the exam table. She used my house. She used my daughter. Why? What's the point? And just as that question formed, another possibility shot through me, a horrifying, traitorous thought. Was someone else involved? Was Lily acting alone? Or was this bigger than I realized? Because a regular civilian shouldn't be able to access that many restricted pills. Not unless someone helped her. Someone with access. Someone with a motive. The nurse brought Mia back to the room. She held a sticker in her hand and smiled bravely. But I could see it, the faint fog in her eyes, the slow blink Lily had taught me not to notice. I wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. I'm so sorry, baby. Mia leaned into me without a word. Then Dr. Nguyen spoke again, quiet and steady. I already reported the medication discrepancy. Someone from the state board will likely contact you. But listen carefully. Until we understand how your sister obtained this, and why keep Mia away from her. Completely. I will, I said. The words were more vow than reply. Just when I thought my nerves couldn't stretch any thinner, there was a knock on the clinic room door. Dr. Nguyen opened it partway, then froze. A familiar voice drifted through the crack. Lily, is my sister in there? I need to speak with her. I felt Mia grip my hand. She knew that voice. So did I. The tone calm, sugary, dangerous. My heart hammered under my ribs. Doctor. Nguyen stepped fully into the doorway, blocking Lily's view inside. Dr. Ng. This is a medical appointment. You'll need to wait outside. Lily laughed, quiet and cold. Lily, oh, I'm not leaving. This is a family matter. Her silhouette loomed behind the glass panel of the door. I held my daughter tighter, and I understood something in that moment. Lily hadn't come to talk. She hadn't come for answers. She had come to reclaim what she thought she owned. My daughter, my life, my silence. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. For a single, suspended moment, the room fell into a heavy stillness. Dr. Nguyen stood between us and the door like a shield, her posture calm but unmistakably firm. Through the frosted glass, I could see Lily's silhouette, shoulders squared, chin lifted, hand twitching as if she owned the air around her. She expected me to step out. She expected me to follow her like I always had. She expected me to fold, but I didn't. For the first time in years, something inside me rose strong, clear, unshakable. I wasn't hiding anymore. I wasn't scared of her anymore. I wasn't hers to control. Dr. Nguyen cracked the door open just enough to look Lily dead in the eye. Dr. Nguyen. You need to leave. Now. Lily's voice dropped to a syrupy hiss. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm here for my niece. I stood, pulling Mia behind me as I stepped forward. No, you're not. Lily leaned sideways, trying to catch my gaze. When our eyes finally met, hers narrowed. You're being dramatic. You drugged my daughter. That did it. Her expression flickered just for a split second. A crack in the armor. A flash of panic she tried to smother. Lily, you don't know what you're talking about. But I wasn't the same woman she used to manipulate. I know exactly what I'm talking about, I said. And so do the tests. Behind me, Mia pressed her face into my side. Her small body trembled, not because she feared Lily, but because she finally understood she didn't have to obey her anymore. Dr. Nguyen called the front desk, and within moments, clinic security appeared. 2 guards stepped into the hallway, positioned like bookends around Lily. They weren't aggressive, just imposing enough that she realized this wasn't going her way. Ma'am, we need you to exit the building. For the first time, Lily stepped back, just an inch, but an inch was everything. Her confidence faltered. Her eyes darted to the bottle in the doctor's hand, then to Mia, then to me. I watched it dawn on her, the power shift she never saw coming. I wasn't trapped. I wasn't confused. She was. Shed lost control, and she knew it. Just before the guards escorted her out, Lily pointed at me, her voice shaking with rage she could no longer hide. "Lil, this is a mistake. You think you can protect her? You can't handle that child without me. You never could." Her words were sharp, but they didn't cut anymore. Because I finally understood the truth. Lily didn't want to help me. She wanted to own the parts of my life that made me vulnerable. She wanted to be the hero in a story she manufactured. She wanted to be needed, and when I didn't need her, she created reasons why I would. I didn't look away. I didn't flinch. "Watch me," her jaw clenched. Security took her by the arms, and she didn't fight anger simmering under her skin, but for once, directionless, powerless. When the door finally closed behind Lily, the air in the room shifted. Lighter. Cleaner. Like someone had opened a window after years of stale tension. Maya's tiny fingers wrapped around mine. "Mom," she whispered. "Is she gone?" I bent down, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Yes, sweetheart. She's gone." And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just the end of Lily's control. This was the beginning of my own. My voice, my boundaries, my daughter's safety. For the first time in years, I felt stronger than the fear, stronger than the manipulation, stronger than Lily. Our fate had shifted. And now, it was moving in one direction only. Karma doesn't come in thunder. Sometimes, it arrives quietly through paperwork, phone calls, and uncomfortable truths finally dragged into the light. For Lily, karma came fast. 2 days after the clinic incident, I received a call from a state investigator. They needed statements, dates, any details I could provide. I told them everything, every red flag I had ignored, every strange moment, every time Mia had acted too sleepy after staying with her. They listened, took notes, and then they told me something that sent a slow shiver through my body. Lily was already under review, not because of me, but because the pharmacy had flagged her for suspicious medication requests. My report didn't start her downfall, it finished it. Within a week, Lily's house was searched. Her medical contacts were questioned. And the truth spilled out like poison leaking from a cracked bottle. She wasn't licensed. She wasn't authorized. She wasn't helping anyone. She had used someone else's old credentials to access restricted sedatives. For months. Possibly longer. Every excuse she ever gave. "I know what I'm doing. Trust me, you're just overreacting." Collapsed under the weight of evidence, the world she built on lies and control finally turned to dust. The official letter came to my mailbox in a stark white envelope. Charges recommended, multiple counts, including endangerment of a minor. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Mia once took Lily's pills, and let the reality sink in. Lily wasn't untouchable anymore. She wasn't the one in control. She wasn't the one holding the power. Her actions had consequences now. Real ones, public record, legal action, loss of everything she used to intimidate me. For the first time, she couldn't escape accountability. And knowing that, felt like the deepest breath I'd taken in years. Word spread through the family faster than wildfire. Some called to apologize for not seeing it. Some called to vent their anger. Some simply said, "We always knew something was off." No one defended her. Not one person. Her pedestal had always been tall. Now it stood empty. All that remained of the sister I once idolized was a trail of manipulation, desperation, and self-made ruin. But that ruin? It belonged to her, not me, not anymore. Lily didn't show up at my door again. Not at the clinic, not anywhere. Instead, she sent a single letter short, handwritten, full of excuses hidden beneath half apologies. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Some apologies are nothing more than attempts to reopen doors that should stay locked. I placed the letter in a drawer I rarely opened, not out of spite, but out of closure. Her story no longer controlled mine. Karma didn't punish Lily because I wanted revenge. It punished her because she crossed a line she could never uncross. She drugged a child. She violated trust. She believed she was untouchable. But in the end, her world cracked under the weight of her own choices. The irony was almost poetic. She had spent years trying to make me feel powerless, and now she was the one answering questions, facing charges, losing her freedoms one by one. Her downfall wasn't dramatic or explosive. It was slow, steady, and inevitable. And as it unfolded, I realized something important. I didn't need to destroy her. She did it all on her own.